Hi there, my name is Dee and this art video is going to be a little different from my normal videos. I'm going to be doing some eye studies, and as I work my way through them, I'm going to kind of stop and talk about what I'm thinking, how I'm going to try to improve the next one, but the twist is that in between studies I'm actually going to be following Skillshare classes to see if I can improve over the course of a couple days and a few different classes just about drawing eyes. I'll be using colored pencils and graphite pencils for the studies. I'll link everything I use below. This video might end up being longer than my normal videos, but I really hope that you guys stick around and watch the whole thing because I am really excited to share with you my journey on these eye studies. To begin, I'm just drawing an eye using a couple different Pinterest references, not copying any one in particular, just to see what I can do with my base knowledge. In total, I drew 11 studies. I sped up each drawing, so that's about 1 to 3 minutes per drawing, but in total I had over 8 hours of footage. I did all these drawings over a period of 3 days, but also as I was watching the Skillshare classes, I was doing separate sketches in a smaller sketchbook following along with the classes, so there was a lot of drawing practice over this period of time. All of the classes and teachers that I mentioned on Skillshare will be linked in the description. Graphite has a sheen when light hits it at a certain angle, so I'll have to move lights around a bit so you can see it properly. Now before my next eye drawing, I'm looking back at my first drawing here, and when I first finished it, there was a couple things that looked off to me, like the top crease is kinda wonky and the eyebrow looks almost too uniform. After following a Skillshare class by Arleesha Yetzer on drawing different aspects of the eye, I now can tell that my upper crease line doesn't necessarily follow the line of the eyeball itself. I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. And even the lower eyelid. For the size that the eyeball is, the bottom eyelid is too close to the lower lash line. And when it comes to the eyelashes, I initially was happy with them. I could have made them longer, but after watching this class, I'm going to try something a little different to make them a bit more realistic and see if that works. Now going into my second drawing, I'm really paying attention to properly drawing each different aspect of the eye that I learned. I'll put up a diagram on the screen here. I will say that with the first study, I was just drawing what I saw in my references, but now I am being more aware of how the different parts of the eye interact with each other, like the way the eyelids hug the eyeball and how the brow sits just on top of the eye socket. Now, I really love how this one turned out. I implemented using the outline of the eyeball to make sure my creases were placed correctly, and using the ducts as my guideline for the eyebrows was super helpful. My eyelashes still could use some work, but they look a bit more organic, while the top eye looks more like the person is wearing mascara to straighten out the lashes. These are a bit more crisscross. For this next one, I wanted to try an eye looking in a different direction. My pointer is a nail tool and has polish on it, don't mind that. Okay, so the only thing I don't like about the blue drawing is the iris and the pupil. I'm still having a hard time getting the shape and placement just right, but I've only just watched one class and there's tons more, so I'm super excited to watch another one and go into more detail. Now I want to try drawing some pairs of eyes and in more expressive expressions. I think I'll also use multiple colors just for fun. I took a class by Tamas Benko, and I'm going to do some 3/4 angle eyes, and I will use multiple colors, but I'm just going to start out with a basic pencil just to get my initial sketch in. Another thing that I'm really struggling with, as you'll see here by my constant erasing and redrawing, is getting the circles even so that the eyes are on the same plane. I guess it's not really that important if the expression of the eyes or the head is tilted so that one eyeball would be higher than the other, but I'd like to be able to control when that happens, so the technique I'm going to try is to create a box to put the eyeballs in, so something like this, and go from there. So I do like the way this looks. I ended up taking a picture of my own eyes doing this expression, and I wasn't quite turned as far in the photo as I drew here. The eyes of my drawing are much closer together, so it might give the idea that the head is turned farther. Another thing that bothers me is I feel like the eye on the right hand side, our right side, is a little bit more squished and kind of looks like it's popping out more than it should. Let's go ahead and try another set of eyes, this time looking downwards. You've probably already noticed it, but it was at this moment I realized that I drew this eye way too big, but I think that could work with a more stylized style. I used mainly oranges and yellows for this study, and kind of from a zoomed out perspective it looks a bit more realistic, which is interesting. I'm still using the box method where I draw a rectangular box and draw the eyeballs inside it just so I can make sure that they are a good distance from each other and also on the same plane as each other. It's definitely helped me because before, when I would try to just draw the eyes on their own, one would always end up higher or lower than the other one, and it would take a lot of erasing to fix it. I've noticed that this method has helped me get the eyes on the correct level the first time. Okay, so I absolutely love how this one turned out. I found this great reference on Pinterest and just bumped up the saturation super high so that I could see all the color placements. And I just love the intensity of the blue and green in the eyes and the life that the skin has with all the reds and oranges in it. I think what I want to do for this is actually use some of my odorless thinner to try to blend out some of those pencils and see how that looks. Okay, so I liked it so much, I used it on a couple of my other ones too, and I think it looks really nice, almost like a painting. I'm gonna do one more set of eyes in this row, and I think I'm just gonna stick to graphite like my very first one. For this drawing, I used a photo from a few years ago of my youngest son's eyes, and I really like how it turned out. There's just something about that soft graphite pencil look that I really love. I think once again, I am struggling a little bit with the placement of the pupils, and I don't know if it looks like this to you. You can let me know in the comments, but it almost looks like his eyes are looking just slightly away from each other. And also the eyebrows were a little tricky for me because in the photo, he has really soft, blonde, delicate eyebrows. And if I were using color, it might be a little easier to portray. But since I'm starting on white paper and using pencils to shade the skin, even the lightest parts of his skin are going to have a little color, so the eyebrows have to be a little darker. And so I feel like they might have ended up too dark. I tried not to do any individual hair placements because it was just more kind of a fuzzy eyebrow. I'm not really sure how to explain it, but I still like how it looks. He has very beautiful eyes. I followed a class by Kaisley Alvarez that talked about eyes in different angles, and I drew this as a redo / variation of this purple drawing, and I think I did improve a little with the pupil and the iris placement, and I really love the look of the red and blue pencils together. I wanted to do another graphite eye study, but I made the irises brown so they stood out a bit. I think that's a really pretty look. I also really like how this angle turned out. Something I usually struggle with when drawing eyes is getting the eyes to actually look like they're looking in a specific direction. Most of the time, they never look where I'm wanting them to look, so I'm excited that I seem to be getting a hold on that aspect. Now I'm going to do 2 more studies. I've already got my colors picked out and ready to go. I'm excited to use these, and then after I'll share some final thoughts about the Skillshare classes and what I've learned. Here are the final 2 sets of eyes. This top one is a more intense expression where the person is looking up, though their head is tilted down slightly, and I think I did a good job of capturing that. And the bottom is an angle extremely different where they're looking up so you can see the underside of the nose. I had wanted them to contrast more against each other, with the top being a purple-yellow combination and the bottom being a blue-orange combination, and I guess it kind of is, but they look pretty similar. Here are all of the drawings together. Some final thoughts. I see some improvement as the drawings progress. Not a lot, but some. I do know that as I worked on each drawing, this whole entire page took me about 3 days to complete. I felt more confident about building up from the foundation with each drawing. The Skillshare classes I watched really, I think, have helped me to understand more about the anatomy of the eye and how certain parts work. Like how even from a side angle, the cornea sticks out further than the eyeball. There's almost like a little dome shape on top of the iris, which I guess I kind of knew, but never really would have thought of doing that while I'm drawing, and I would have just drawn the eyeball and then color the iris on the surface of the eyeball. So in these 2 drawings where the eyeballs almost look like they're protruding a little bit, on the purple one I definitely drew the right eye on our right too far out, but on the red and blue drawing just left of that, I think I did a little better of keeping the eyeball where it's supposed to sit, but you can still tell that the cornea is coming out further off the surface of the eyeball. The teachers in these classes explain it way more clearly than I just did. Obviously, that's why they are teachers on Skillshare, and I am just somebody trying to learn how to draw an eye. So that's it, you guys. Thank you so much if you stuck around this far. I'm really hoping to continue this as a series to try to learn to draw things better and do some videos on studies for you guys as I watch more and more Skillshare classes, and I'll do more and more studies and hopefully be able to pass over some valuable information that I've learned. I highly recommend, if you use Skillshare and you love to draw people like I do, that you check out these teachers, specifically these classes, because I feel like I really benefited from their classes and I think you would as well. Please consider liking this video if you found it useful or if you just enjoyed watching it, and please consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on any future videos like this one. Thanks for watching. See ya!